Alright, this is the introduction video for BBMP, the Based Black Music Player. This is a music player that I've been working on for a few months now, and is a drop-in replacement as an MPD front end right now if you are using MPD. So what this looks like is this program right here. So I can scroll through my artists, pick an album, pick a song, hit enter and play. You can change the volume if you look at the top right there. You can see the song scrolling in the top left. I can scroll around and then go back to where I was, all that good stuff. I can go to the queue, I can delete that song, I can clear the queue. And so this program is very reminiscent of NCMP CPP, which is another MPD front end. That's this program right here. And if you look at this default library view right here, this is what my program looks like in its library view. So that is the most direct inspiration for my program. However, I used a lot of Linux music programs in the past. NCMP CPP was where I ended up on in the end, but it was missing album covers for me. A lot of the other programs that I used on Linux just weren't great user experiences. A lot of them would just not display album covers the way that I wanted them to. They would, add like a sheen over them or add like a border of a CD case or something that I just didn't want. And I wanted to maintain this clean ncurses type interface that you get out of these terminal programs, but have it be a more built out and visually appealing program in other ways. And so that is where this view comes in. This is the library album art view. This is really why I wrote this program in the first place. So this is the view that lets you scroll through your entire library, but via the album art, and to be able to see all of that as you're going through. And you get a nice large view if you go into an album, and you can quickly move between different albums or between the views. And all of that works very well for me, at least on a couple different computers. So that was a lot of the motivation of this program, was to have this very smooth user experience, while also getting the full album cover, interaction with your library that you don't get out of some other programs. And so it has a similar interaction to the library where you hit enter on an album, it'll play the whole album. Spacebar on an album will add it to the queue, which I just did for this album. And that works, all cleanly and well. So if you are already using MPD, and right now this is only for Linux, BBMP is, then you can use this as a drop-in replacement MPD front end. If you are using Windows, I'm sorry, I'm not there yet, but I'm working on that. I do want this to be a fully fledged program that works on Windows, on Linux, probably on OS X at some point, and possibly to detach from MPD and have its own integration with doing everything and not needing another program to run. But this is where we're at now, and so to set this up, there is a GitHub page that explains everything that you should need to set this up in the first place. And so there's a lot here that thoroughly explains everything you should need to know, but I'll go over what are kind of the special things to really be aware of going into this program. So as you'll see here, these album covers, I have kind of these thumbnail size covers and these larger covers, and I actually have the program take the covers from your library that you have stored on disk and create these small and large versions that are very fast to load. So I create bitmap files out of the JPEGs and PNG covers that you have. And so right now, the covers that you have on your disk within a single artist or single album directory should be called cover.png or cover.jpg, and then my program will find those and it'll create these covers here into these bitmap files. And the bitmap files, again, are because they're very fast to load to give you that smooth user experience. So if you look here, I explain a bit about the different config values. The MPD library directory value is there because using the client library that I'm currently using to interact with MPD, cannot get the directory of the library that MPD is using that you had to specify in your MPD config, and so you have to specify it again here. This album cover, and that tells us how we find the album covers. And then the album cover directory is where we store those thumbnails and large album covers that we generate into those bitmap files. And you have to create this album cover directory yourself right now. It will not be created for you. And so that, among many other things, are user experience things that I want to make better. A lot of this RC file, write a config file, create a directory, isn't stuff that I want every user to have to do, but it is currently the state of things. In line with wanting that better user experience, the config right now is only viewable in the program. I would like it to be editable within the program. Again, that's something that's coming that requires a lot more. There's a lot of work to do for how easy that might sound. And so you can view the config here. There's also this debug log view, which will tell you a lot of what's happening. Usually this will be pretty quiet and won't show a lot, but that's there as well, just to get some insight into what's happening in the program, and possibly, show some things that can be sent as bug reports or anything like that. So everything is listed out here for what you need to do. MPD has to be running when you start the program, and so just to show what that looks like if that is not the case. Oops, stop MPD. You start that, then you'll get this message at the top telling you to update your config and restart the program, or to start MPD and then restart the program. But the program must be restarted. If you start MPD afterward, this isn't going to update right now, and so then you have to exit out and restart, and it should be pretty quick. Similarly, I mentioned these album covers being generated. They're generated on startup for every album cover that BBMP has not made a cover for already. And so if I delete all of these covers, which happened faster this time, then I am going to restart the program and go to the album art view, and we should see these covers start to quickly populate again, and it's all still very fast and interactable while that's happening. So those will be generated again right now, and then they'll be stored for the next start of the program. And so when you start, all the albums that don't currently have a cover will have their thumbnail and their large cover generated. The large covers are 800 pixels wide, and so if you want pretty good quality on those, you'll want to store covers that are maybe 600 pixels at least or bigger. Tends to look pretty good for me. And then these are 200 pixel width there, and they'll change a little bit based on screen size, but we'll also reorder and show fewer or less as you resize the window. So that's how all that works. Right now, if you have a cover that you want to replace, unfortunately that's not built into the program to replace an existing cover. And so right now what I do is I remove this whole directory like I just did and regenerate all the covers by restarting the program. I know that that's bad user experience. That's something that is going to be worked on as well. But for now, if you replace a cover, there's not a great way to get the identifier of this hash. Maybe I'll just have that be easily findable within the program so it's easier to do this, but I'd rather just make it to where the program can do that for you. So those are all of the main things. You can get all the key bindings from this as well, from the GitHub, and so the program is entirely navigable through key bindings, Vim-like bindings, much like you'll find in NCMP CPP or other programs like it. And so if you see these on the top left, all the different views are listed 1 through 5. You just hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to go between those views. And if you want to move up and down, that's J, K, left and right is H and L respectively. Control D and U will go a full page or a half page up depending on context. Half page in this view, for example, but full page here. If you want to do a search, then you can search by doing / and then type in something. You can see the search in the bottom left comes up. hit enter to enter in that search, and then you can hit N and Shift N to go forward and backwards within that search. Similarly, if you hit little O, it'll go to the currently playing song. If you hit an X on a song in the queue, it'll remove that song from the queue. Right now, if you hit C, it'll clear the queue and it won't confirm. That's something I'll add as well as confirmation on that. You have your volume key bindings going between songs, fast forwarding and rewinding, and those are all the big ones. Hitting enter on an artist will add that entire artist discography to the queue, and hitting spacebar on an album or an artist or a song will add it to the queue and not just play it. So the enter will play it right away, but spacebar will just add it without playing it. And so, yeah, that is most of what matters here. And in this library album art view, if you're on an album and you hit I, that's how you're going to go into that view. If you hit enter, it's going to add that to the queue and play it. So little I is how you go and view that, and then I again is how you get out. And then little O will work in this view as well and take you to either the album that's currently playing, or if you're in that a different album, little O will take you to the song that's currently playing. So those are all the main things. Right now, again, only for Linux, front end to MPD, and you have to have a local library for this, have your album cover saved to disk. But I know some other people out there use MPD like I do and have a similar setup. And so anybody who's excited by this and wants this type of front end, I would be excited to see who uses this, what kinds of things people want, and I want to keep building on this, add a better user experience in some of these different aspects. I want to add a playlist view soon, very similar. Initially, what I have working is similar to NCMP CPP's playlist view, where you get the playlist here listed on the left and the songs in the playlist listed on the right. But what I want to add is similar to what you can do in Spotify, where you get your playlists showing like albums, where it has a cover for each playlist that you can add. And so I want a playlist art view similar to this album art view as well. And so that is the next most incoming feature. There's other stuff here to add as well, but for now, this is where the program's at. I've been using it for months and it's been very good for me. So if you want to give it a try, that'd be awesome. So if you want to install it, the binary is here on the GitHub, BBMP right here. And if you are on Arch, we do have an AUR package for the program that just installs that binary under BBMP on the AUR. So yeah, that's everything. Post issues if you have them, post feature requests, all that kind of stuff. Happy to hear any feedback.